everybody, so I'm going to do a deck profile today for you guys, featuring a Ancient Surprise deck that is green-blue, mostly focused on the green units and the sort of Highlander style build. It's not really Highlander because it's not one-ofs, but it's definitely a variety of different classes because that's sort of what the deck is all about. So I'm just going to jump right into it because there's kind of a lot to go through. So we're using the green as the center, and then we're going to use the assists for blue and red because green is going to get us over the thresholds that we need for the Lancer effects and all the other things that are coming. I'm not even going to try to butcher these names. I don't know how to say them, so I'm just going to refer to them by their color. So obviously you have your center line for green, and your level 3, when it comes into play, you enter charge 2, and if those 2 units that you've enter charged are different classes, then you enter charge a third. So that's really, really good. The piece that we're using, one of the pieces we're using, is 8 cost, so having a huge enter zone is important, and she really helps with that. Most of the time it's going to be 2 different units, again, because we're using so many different classes. You'll easily hit 2 different classes on the enter charge for her skill. And then her second ability is a once per turn, and you target 3 Signy on your field with different classes. Again, the different classes thing comes up again, and they get 3,000 power until the end of the turn, which is really, really good because that gets your 12Ks to 15Ks, which then activates a lot of skills that let you get Lancer, which is just a nasty skill in this game. So yeah, so the whole focus of the deck, like I said, is sort of like a Highlander style build where you're going to want to have a lot of different units in the deck or different Signy, I should say, in the deck. I'm still hooked on Vanguard, because the classes need to be different for all the real skills to go off. Then for my other, for the assists, I'm choosing the blue draw, which is just draw 2 cards when you play her. It's just, for this deck, you just want hand, because you want to be able to see all your different classes. That way you have more control over your enter zone when you're enter charging, and just drawing 2 for free is really nice. And then for the red, I'm using the one that lets you look at the top 3 for up to 1 Signy that is blue, red, and green, and then add them to your hand and put the rest at the bottom. We don't actually have any red Signy in this deck, but there's enough variety between the red, the blue, and the green that you'll at least get 2 cards off it. So it's almost like, again, draw 2, but it's a little more, you get to pick sometimes, because if you might have 2 blues and a green or 2 greens and a blue, you actually get a little more choice, so it's not just a blind draw 2. But essentially it's doing kind of the same thing, just drawing cards. That's really what you want for your level 1s in this deck. And then for the level 2, I'm using the down for this one, and this is just a really nice card to slow them. When it enters, you just down a Signy, and that's obviously really good because it can be activated on attack phase. So that's already 1 lane that you don't have to worry about. And then if you pay a blue and a colorless, you can down another one. So that could be 2 lanes. So if they really pop your board, that's a great one to go into because it just shuts their turn kind of down. I mean, that's the point of the card. So yeah, so she's really good. And then I'm using bubbles for the red, just on enter, attack phase, or main phase. You vanish, and then for 5 colorless, which is kind of costly, but again, we do a lot of enter charge in this deck, so sometimes it's worth it. You vanish another target Signy with 8,000 or less power. So again, just removal. It's really all you want to do is stop attacks. So when you're getting sort of rush down or beat down, or if they go into a huge turn with a piece card, you've got these as answers. And then for the pieces, I should explain those while I'm in this zone. We have the 8 cost piece, which is kind of the win condition. It's a really strong card. You look at the top 8 cards of your deck, you choose a 3, a 2, and a 1, and the 3 gets Lancer, the 2 gets Double Crush, and the 1 gets Assassin. So Lancer basically says when an attack kills a unit or a Signy on the opponent's field, you still burst one of their life claws. The Double Crush is essentially what it sounds like. If they have an open lane and you attack their life cloth, you crush 2. And then Assassin basically gives the unit the ability to attack around a Signy that's in the opposing lane. So it should get you 4 life cloths if you play it properly, and then that's not counting your Lurig attack. So if you are setting it up right, it's really a game ender because you just burst all their life cloths. Of course, there's the life cloth abilities, but it's a good way to push a lot of damage in. And then the other one I'm running is a 4-cost Future Code. This one was Harmonic Call, by the way. This is Future Code. This basically says if all you need is a green Lyrig on your field, so you're gonna have that anyway. And then you up to 2 your Signy on the field with 15,000 power or more get Lancer. So again, that's what I was saying. The 3K from her puts the 12Ks to 15, and then they can get Lancer. So when you call 2 12Ks out and then get them to 15, it's 2 things with Lancer, which again is just pushing damage. So that's really what our pieces are doing. It's just trying to get those life cloth bursts in and sort of try to shut the game out. So now we're gonna move into this Signy. So obviously we've got the servants. We need those. Those are like your lifesavers. So we've got 4 of those. Then I'm running 2 Skanda. So her ability is on enter. You can pay 2 green and a colorless. You put a Signy on your field into the trash, and then you vanish a target Signy on your opponent's field with power that was less than the power of the Signy you put into the trash. So if you put a 10,000 into the trash, you vanish something with power less than the power, so less than 10,000. So if you do 12,000, then it'll be less than 12,000. Yeah, so she's just pretty good, but her life burst ability is Enter Charge 2, and then you add up to 1 target Signy from your Enter Zone to your hand. So it's really nice. It sort of makes the Enter Zone become a resource, and yeah, it's just a really good, the Enter Charge is really important. So she's a really good Signy, and she is a demon type, just to keep track of the different classes we're playing. So I'll put her over there. Then we have this Angel. So she's just a 3K Signy, but whenever she attacks, you draw a card, discard a card. For the level 3 that we're running as one of our main Signy, that ends up being kind of important because it helps you filter what you need, because you need certain cards into your trash. So just an easy card, and she's an Angel. Then we have this card. It's it has a ability that's continuous. As long as there are 3 or more different classes among your Signy in your Enter Zone, it gets plus 4,000 continuously, so it'll be a 7K. And again, the theme of the deck is having variety of classes. So yeah, so this is Cosmos. Then we're running 4 of the blue-green, just the vanilla, that's 5K, that is an aquatic beast. Again, you do have some costs that require blue, and some that require green. Most requires green, so this just sort of fills the void of having the cost requirements available, and it is aquatic beast, like I said. So that's it for the ones, and then obviously the servants, and those are primal tone as well, so that actually matters, because primal tone is its own sort of class, so that's just another class we're using. So that's it for the ones. And then moving on to the 2s, we are running 4 of this Venom chick. So her class is Venom, which is just really cool, and such a cool, I don't know, just such a cool class type. I'm hoping we get a lot more Signy that have Venom as their class type, so that maybe I could make a deck that's all sort of like Venom or Poison units. I just really like that. So anyway, her continuous ability is as long as there are 3 or more different classes among Signy in your Ender Zone, it gets a continuous plus 5K, so similar to that level 1. But then her second ability is once per turn, you pay 2 green and a colorless, and another target Signy on your field with power 15,000 or more gets Lancer. So again, she sort of works as like a mini version of the piece card we're using. She's really good, and even though we're trying to get a variety of classes, she's the only Venom unit, so playing 4 of her is fine, and she works really, really well with what you're trying to do with this deck. So yeah, so I really do enjoy her. She's only 3K power, but it doesn't really matter because you're usually using her other skills. And again, if you have the 3 Signy of different classes in your Enter Zone, she's actually an 8K, so that's not bad at all. So she's really, really good, and she looks really cute. I mean, she's awesome. So that's one of our great 2s, and again, her class is Venom. Then I'm running 2 of the Slime Mage, and she is a demon class, and her ability on enter is paying 2 blue and a colorless, and putting 2 other Signy on your field into the trash, and then you put a target Signy on your opponent's field to the bottom of their deck. which is really, really good because vanishing it just gives them enter. So this is just a really good way to just get rid of that unit entirely. Very blue in its mechanic. And it has a life burst ability that is draw 2 cards. So that's just an awesome life burst ability. Drawing cards is always good, and it helps you just filter and get yourself set up, which you need in this deck. But yeah, so she's really good. She's only a 5k base, but again, she has that removal ability that is just really good, and she is a demon. And then we're using the High Circus Code Maze. He is an 8k base, and he has an auto ability once per turn. When he moves to a different Signy zone by my effect, the opponent reveals the top card of their deck, and I can put that card to the bottom of their deck. And then on his enter ability, you swap positions of this Signy with another target Signy on your field. So he activates himself on enter, and that's really all that we're gonna do for him. We don't really have a lot of movement abilities in this deck, so we're just gonna have him out, and he's gonna get his skill once, and then that's gonna be it. But he is a Labyrinth type class, which is kind of one of the reasons we're using him too, because Labyrinth is a type we needed. So yeah, so he's good. And again, if on the top of their deck you see a Servant, that is amazing, or just any card that could be valuable to them. It just helps you sort of screw the opponent over. So good card. Then we're running 2 of Senno-Riku Jade General. Just a 10k vanilla, but then it has a life burst ability that is Enter Charge 3, which is really, really, really good. Enter Charge 3 is nuts, so especially in this deck, that can just set you up for so much. And his class type is Brave, so that's important to note. And then the last we're running is the 10k vanilla that's green-blue, and it is an aquatic beast like our one is. And just again, it's for the color. We have plenty of aquatic beasts in the deck, so you'll probably always be able to have those in the enter zone. And yeah, it's a 10k base, so it's not bad at all, honestly. And then again, if you're getting your level 3 Larig off, it could be a 13k, which is a great number. So no problem there with the power. So that's it for our level 2 Signies. And now moving on to the level 3 Signy. We have, I guess I should start with the ones that are kind of the focus of the deck. So let me start with my favorite, because this card, when I saw it, oh my god, it's so great. So this is the Azathoth Phantom Spirit Queen. Her class type is Outcast, which is so dope, and the art is so phenomenal on that. I mean, come on, that's great. So anyway, she is an Ancient Surprise team special unit. Her ability is, at the beginning of your attack phase, if this Signy's power is 15,000 or more, you can pay 2 green, and if you do, you vanish a target Signy on the opponent's field with power 10,000 or more. So gets rid of those huge threats. It's just such a good card. It's just so good. This card's great. And her second ability is whenever she attacks, if the total number of Signy classes in your trash are 7 or more, you enter charge 1. So again, plays into the whole theme of the deck with the enter charging. You really want a variety of different units in your trash, so that way you can get that enter charge from her every time she swings. And she's a 12k base, so that's totally good. Such a good card, such a fun card, and kind of the reason I made this deck in the first place. Second favorite card here. This is Amino Acid Natural Bacteria Queen. She's class type Bacteria. So again, we don't mind running the 4 of the ones that there's only one type of in the deck, because it just helps sort of add to the variety. And plus they're really good cards. So her ability is continuous. If the Signy would get minus power by an opponent's effect, it gets plus that much power. So any of those pesky like black cards that are minus 8k, minus 12k, minus whatever k, that just becomes a plus for her. So you really cannot minus her, which is really good. And then her second ability is during your turn, other Signy on your field get plus 5,000 power. So that right there can set you up for huge turns. Like if you're towards the end stages of the game, for example, and you have, you're at your 3 and you've used both your assists, so you're at your 2s for them. So you're sitting at, you can play up to level 8. If you have that and you toss out like these 2 and then a gosh, it could really be anything. Let's say that even. Let's say an 8K. I mean, any of the 10Ks would work, but let's say it was an 8K, and then you activate your Center Larig's ability plus her, everything would have 15k or more. And then if you activate your piece that gives the 15k or more as Lancer, like goodbye. That's such a good combo. So it's just really strong. She's a great card and super threatening. And then she also has a life burst ability, which is an Enter Charge 1. And the next time you would take damage from a Signy, you don't take the damage. So you get an Enter Charge and it stops an attack. It's such a good life burst ability. She is such a good card. Just the power of this card is amazing. This is a card I could see like really being in a lot of decks that play green for a very long time. Like the life cost ability is just great. It's not restricted to the team, so it could just find its way into different decks. And she's awesome. I mean, come on, she looks so good. So that's another great 3 we're running. Then we have, now these are more of our like 2-ups. So we have Natural Crystal. She is a 12k base. And whenever she attacks, if its power is 15,000 or more, your opponent discards a card. And if it's 20,000 or more, they discard it at random. So they don't get to choose what they're discarding, which is just really strong. And again, the 15k thing is very easy to pull off in this deck. And then she has a Life Burst ability, which downs a target insignia on your opponent's field and freezes it, and then you draw a card. So the blue Life Burst abilities are just nuts to me. I think they're also impactful, and they keep you alive for so long. So so we definitely like the blue Life Burst abilities in this deck, and she is one of the ones that we really like. And her type is Jewel, so that's a different one. Then we have 2 of Vela, Natural Planet, and her type is Cosmos. And she is a 13k base, so she's just a beat stick. And she has no effect, but her Life Burst ability is you put a target up Signy on your opponent's field to the bottom of their deck. So if they run into that mid-attacks, it not only does it stop one of their attacks, it also opens one of their lanes, so you can just hit them back, and it's just an annoying card. So she's just a really good Life Burst ability. And then the last one we're running is Atalanta, Jade Angel, and she is an angel type. And her enter ability is you put 3 Signy with different classes from your enter zone into the trash, and then you vanish a target Signy on your opponent's field with power 8,000 or more. So that's pretty much like, that hits a lot of things. And she's a 12k base. So again, the whole thing with playing into the different class types in the enter zone is kind of the focus of the deck. So that's pretty much the deck. There's not much else to say about it, but it is just very good. It's a very strong deck. It really, it works very well. It's actually very consistent. I was worried at first when I was building this, like I really wanted to build this as a deck, but I was really worried that it was going to be tough to pull off with having to get everything set up in a certain way, but it really sets itself up well. And the Life Burst abilities are all good. It's all sort of resource stuff. If you get the Enter Charge Life Burst abilities, you get the Draw Card Life Burst abilities, and then you have these sort of disruptive Life Burst abilities. So you're kind of keeping yourself alive, drawing a lot of cards, Enter Charging a lot. You never feel like you're out of resources with this deck, which is what I really like. My hand never feels super small. My Enter Zone never feels depleted. I always feel pretty stable with how many life cloth I have left, and the closing ability of this deck is super high. The piece cards are really strong. The Venom unit that gives everything Lancer, this check is really strong because again, everything can get over that 15k or to 15k rather easily. So so if you like this style of a deck, definitely give it a shot. It is not super control-y. If you wanted a more control version, I would go more with a blue focus, but it does have its control elements just from the Life Burst abilities alone, and it does have a good amount of removal and a lot of that piercing damage with Lancer. So if you're into that kind of a thing, then definitely give it a shot, and I hope you guys enjoy this first deck video. This is the first time I've ever done a deck video for this game, so if it was a little bit sloppy, forgive me, because it was my first attempt here, but I wanted to kind of showcase a deck profile and just give you guys an idea of what a sample deck could look like. Definitely we're gonna have more content coming soon with Wixoss. It's such a fun game. We've all been having a lot of fun playing it, and definitely more games will be coming as well. And I hope you guys enjoy this content, and if you do, give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.